Greetings from Michigan Masonic Home. I'm Mike Logan, CEO. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women who dedicated their time and their talents to the U.S. Armed Forces. Thank you for giving us the freedoms that we have here in the United States of America. I'm especially grateful for the men and women who've dedicated their lives to the U.S. Armed Forces during times of peace and at times of war. Thank you to those veterans that choose Michigan Masonic Home as their retirement home. We are so grateful for you. God bless America, and thank you for your service.
Coming to you today from the Doig Chapel in front of our service flags. I'm Bob Conley, and I'm the system CEO. And I just want to take this opportunity for all of our veterans out there, our brothers and sisters who have served this nation. I want to say thank you to you. I know that many times you don't think, that you did an awful lot in your years in the service. To those of us, though, that have not served, I assure you that your sacrifices and the time that you spent in defense of this nation are not forgotten. You're not forgotten either. From the bottom of my heart and from all of those that I represent, thank you. Have a wonderful Veterans Day. God bless all of you, and God bless the United States of America.
I was second of 9 children, so, I didn't have the money to go to school. And my dad had been a gunner's mate in World War II. My job was to clean and repair electronic equipment, transmitters, receivers. I was, of course, not on board the ship. I was in Newport, Rhode Island for 2 years, and then I went to Moffett Field in California for a couple of years, and then I retired there and continued to live there.
I was on an aircraft carrier. I was in for 4 years.
I was in the Civil Air Patrol in Grand Ledge.
I had one of those jobs, if I told you, I'd have to kill you. Radio intercept.
Was in the Tactical Air Command, 474th TAC Fighter Command, 57th Supply Squadron.
I was schooled to be a toxic gas handler, which is dealing with poison gases. And after the school, I was unfortunate enough to get one of the highest grades, so they sent me to Harlingen, Texas, to be an instructor. I was stationed just outside of Nuremberg, and that was when the Nuremberg trials, the Nazis were being tried, and I had the opportunity to go and witness one day of those trials.
Well, I was drafted in 1950 and went in January 19th, 1951, 6 weeks after I got married. I volunteered for the Airborne because it was an extra $50 a month. I knew what to expect. I had 2 great-grandfathers in the Civil War. My father was in the First World War. My brother was in the Second World War. I was in during Korea. And my 2 younger brothers were in during Vietnam.
I started out as a tank crewman, a tank commander, and then I became a radio specialist.
In the Navy, I was a fireman, which is below deck personnel. Actually, all I did is walk around with a notebook under my arm and a cup of coffee in one hand and a pencil in the other, and check valves.
Went in the Navy in 1948 in the reserves for the 48. And when the Korean War started, I took a discharge from the reserves and went regular for 4 years. We, a bunch of us guys, joined the Cadillac Naval Reserve Unit because we could get a peacoat.
Well, I enlisted in the Naval Reserve to keep out of the Army draft. But after I was in there a couple of 3 months, the Naval Reserve drafted me.
If you ever seen these pictures of the Marines on the battlefields, and one of them has a red cross on his arm, that's a Navy hospital corpsman. And that's what I was.
I couldn't enlist. And then I was in what they called special service. I was not supposed to go overseas because of my eyes. I was supposed to be, but you know how the Navy, they don't pay attention to things like that. They just shit me over anyway. So I went in the Navy, and right off the bat they shipped me to South Pacific, and that's what happened. I was a coxswain in the Navy and ran personnel or landing crafts, and if things would stay the same, I would probably end up going on an invasion of Japan, because that was pretty much what I was working towards. But lucky enough, the atom bomb came along, so I didn't get to go, thank God.
I was on an aircraft carrier, and to keep that big thing going, you need a lot of supplies. So that was our job, to make sure that we had enough things to keep the ship operational.
I was stationed in France most of the time, and I visited 9 different countries while I was there. And of course, in the military, you get 30 days off a year, leave time. And I made use of it.
I was assigned to the 50th Rifle Company in Lansing, Michigan, and then each summer we would go to different camps for training. We'd go to Camp Lejeune or Paris Island. One year we went out to Pickle Meadows, California, up in the mountains, and did some mountain training up there.
Just giving up a portion of your life for your country.
It was something that you felt you had to do.
Well, I got the opportunity to serve my country, see a little bit of the United States.
I think everyone who goes in some respects, has an understanding or a view of what serving may mean. That's kind of how you get your own view of the world, just listening to other people.
For a long time after I was in the service, it was not a good thing to be a veteran. And veterans were ignored, and no one ever said anything. It just didn't come up. And then people began to say, "Thank you for your service." And they began to do Veterans Day things, and I'm very, very proud to have served this country.
What did it mean to me? The country is my life. That's where I live.
We had a tent boy, 12 years old. His name was Sun Juni. And I took especially close to him. He was a great kid, 12 years old. Father was killed by the Chinese. His mother was still alive, and his sister. And I gotta tell you, Ben, I wasn't married at that time. But if his mother had not been around anymore, I'd have done everything I could do, like through the Red Cross and so on. I brought that kid home. Boy, he was a great kid. Just a great kid.
I think it's a privilege. I think it's a good thing if every young person had to do that.
I was hearing about people who were being persecuted and people who had lost their lives trying to protect that. It seemed it was something that was necessary to do.
Yeah, I can just remember some of the guys who were older than me from high school, and I played at their funerals. And I knew that some of the family members and I could see the girls all crying. It just got me, and sometimes it still does.
I knew I was going to serve one way or another. I guess I didn't even think too much about it.
I suppose it means me to protect the country and its values and so forth for what it has survived these last 200-300 years. But mostly to do my part. You know, we all gotta pick up the shovel and start shoveling, you know. That's about what it's all about.
I think it was an honor. I was doing something both for myself and for the country.
You're part of a large group of people doing really something that each one's got a job, and you have to make that ship work.
Really didn't settle in what I actually did until after I got out a few years later, knowing, what I sat there every day and listened to, and what the world situation was while I was in. I mean, there weren't bullets flying, but it was a dangerous, dangerous time.
It's an experience that some days I forget, would just as soon forget, and then there's some days that I can't forget.
Well, it's an obligation that's presented to everybody. Was back then.
In the 1950s, it was a very important thing. I believe it still is, but in the 50s, the Korean War was pretty well wound down by the time I went in, but there was a feeling of patriotism all over the country. It was a very good time for the United States, and I was very happy to be there.
I'm very proud of being in the service, but I'm very proud of all the fellows I knew in the service, and I'm proud of the fact that I appreciate what they did before I got in, and I'm very proud of the servicemen and the veterans.
I'd see dust on the road coming, and 9 times out of 10, it was anywhere from 4 to on up number of trucks. In an outfit in the medical corps that brought bodies back from the front, and they were all refrigerated trucks. And I gotta tell you, I can hardly avoid it today, but to stand on that ammunition and watch those trucks go by and what they are, those guys gave everything.
At the age I'm at now, looking back at it, it means a lot to our country to have the people that has been through what some of them went through.
I'm glad they're there. That's what I would say to them.
Take pride in what they've done. And their effort for the rest of us, for people.
You won't be sorry you did this, and I thank you for your service. This has got to be a hard time to do it with COVID and so on, but be safe and continue to do your thing for our country. And you'll be very happy you did.
Well, I just want to thank them for being there. I was thanked many times for my service, although I didn't really do anything. I was just in service. But my older brother was in the Air Force during the Second World War over in England all the time. I don't know what my dad did during the First World War. I know he was in the Navy. But it's a struggle being in the service, putting up with what you have to. So I just like to thank everybody that is in the service.
Be proud of what you're doing. you're doing it for the right reasons. You know, you're in there, you're growing up, you're taking care of the country, you're learning a good work ethic, and you're learning a good trade. So,
the country that you represent, and no matter what you see or what you hear, is still the greatest piece of earth in the world. And it's well worth fighting for. And not to forget those, I suppose, that never did come back.
God bless them. You know, they're all volunteers. I can't say enough for them.
Just enjoy life to the best of your ability.
They all do a tough job, and none of it's easy, but it's certainly important.
Yeah, I'm glad I did it, and I hope they're glad they did it, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal.
I'd say I'm proud of you that you served and I served, and we just did the best we could, and we couldn't control what was going on, and but they should be proud, yeah.